For any ranger worth their salt to survive out in the wilderness, they must develop a wide array of skills. Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Continuing on with our build guide for the Pathfinder Ranger. This is first edition Pathfinder, and we're covering Treant Monk's switch hitter build with a couple of little updates sprinkled in here or there. Now, today we are covering the Ranger's skills, but before we start breaking all of that down for you, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there and hit that subscribe button and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or, if you dashingly awesome people have already subscribed yourself and made yourselves known on such a legendary roster, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide to help us grow ever further. But now, let's go ahead and talk about your skills. So, to begin with, the Ranger starts off with Climb. Now, Climb is a lot of people call this situational and rate this lower, but I agree with Treant Monk. I think it's worth 1 point to get that class bonus to it, on top of the fact that you're going to have a fairly high strength score, so that's going to meet most of your needs. If you're in a campaign where the climb skill kind of comes into play quite a bit more, and with some frequent challenges that, and you can't always count on magic to overcome it, then this will probably be rated higher. Next is your handle animal skill. Now this runs off of your charisma, it's your dump stat, but we get a bonus to it when it comes to our animal companions and teaching them tricks. So this is still worth it to have a couple of points in, maybe not every time you level up or even every other time, but still the occasional investment should be more than sufficient for you. And then next we have the heal skill, which runs off of our wisdom, which is not going to be a bad stat at all. This is maybe another 1 point investment, but you do get Cure Light Wounds, so you can use a Wand Degrader effect, so even if you decide to skip heal overall, you still have a magic option in place for healing more frequently. Kind of as with Climb, if you're in a campaign that's either lower magic or for some reason you're not able to access your magic, then having the heal skill developed a little bit more will be useful. And because we have a decent wisdom, we'll be able to make a better use of this than normal. Now, next is one that you can skip entirely, and that's Intimidate. It runs off of charisma, and unless your DM's giving you a bonus or lets you use your strength score as a supplement, just skip this and let the bard do the talking, or the paladin, or sorcerer. Anybody that has a high charisma stat, let them do all the social skills. You are an isolated loner, you're not worried about speaking. Now, next up is knowledge dungeoneering, and this runs off of your intelligence. And this is a pretty useful skill in identifying many kinds of monsters and hazards underground. Now, if you're never really underground a whole lot, not around the Underdark or going into caves, then maybe this is less useful and you can kind of skip over to something else. But overall, I'd say more often than not, this will still be a reliable, usable skill for you. Much like Knowledge Nature, which again runs off of your intelligence. This is going to be much more useful, and it's thematically appropriate for you. You will be able to identify creatures and hazards in natural environments, such as fae, monstrous humanoids, etc., things like that, so definitely is going to be one of your more broadly useful skills. Definitely a must-have. Not as much as the next skill, though. The next skill is Perception, running off of your wisdom, and this is the most used skill in the game, and again, it just fits with the Ranger build. You're gonna be a scout. You're gonna want to be able to pick up and spot things, so max this out every time, and you will be very rarely caught unawares. The next skill is Ride, and that runs off of your dexterity. And now, this is for riding different mounts, obviously, making different skill checks. Well, ride checks are going to be the skill checks used, but it's not going to be super important for you. If you're going to be a mounted ranger, though, engaging in quite a bit of mounted archery and combat, then this is definitely going to be blue. Very, very useful. And then our next skill is after that is Spellcraft, and Spellcraft runs off of your intelligence, and in theory, it's really useful. It's good for most spellcasters to have, but in practice, for rangers in particular, it's not so much, not all that useful. You're safe skipping it. you're not going to really be worried about this too much. I mean, our limited array of spellcasting, the fact that we don't have a whole lot of... We have combat-oriented spells, but not direct damage, not blasting. We have more utility spellcasting. That's going to be more what we're focusing on. And the next skill is stealth, and stealth is definitely a great one for you to have. Runs off of your dex, and it's yet another skill that is fitting for the ranger. Take this. Take this so that way you can get the drop on opponents. You don't get a sneak attack like rogues do, but still, attacking from surprise, stealth, and ambush, especially raining in arrows and then charging in with a greatsword or waiting for your opponents to close with you, definitely greatly useful. Always want to catch the wizard by surprise and geek them first. And then the skill after stealth is going to be survival, and this runs off of your wisdom. And how are you going to be a ranger and not have survival? This is how you track things. This is how you find useful things out in the wilderness. This could also be how you find different reagents and components necessary for spellcasting, potion crafting. So this will help to make you very valuable to any spellcasters or artificers, alchemists, anybody that might be in the group that runs off of those things will want you to have this. This will be great. And now, the next skill is swim, and this runs off of our strength. Since it runs off of a stat we're keeping high, you can take at least 1 point with this. Now, bear in mind that if you're in a naval campaign with a lot of water or anything around large bodies of water that you're going to be frequently crossing or interacting with, then this is probably going to be a blue rated, definitely a must-have skill. And you don't want to be caught out on a ship and not be able to swim. That's a bad plan for you. But these are all the skills that are class skills for you, and these are skills that you're going to get bonuses to once you put a point in them. Remember, you'll get that one-time miscellaneous +3 bonus when you put your first point into any class skill. Other non-class skills that you might consider picking up might be knowledge religion, for example, since that's going to be used in identifying a lot of undead or creatures like that, or planar knowledge of the planes and the like. That'll help you identify many kinds of outsiders, and those might be appropriate depending on the types of favored enemies you decide to pick up. But again, that all just depends on you and the campaign, and bear in mind, as with any guide put up here, this is just a list of suggestions, tips, tricks, ideas, and it's focused more on making a mechanically effective character. Story, at least for me, and many of you out there I believe, story trumps mechanics every time. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Either way, go down below and hit those like or dislike buttons and let me know your thoughts. And if you're new here to this channel, then go on down to hit that subscribe button. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.